Hey guys, here for a new video. Sorry it's been a while, but let this be the first of a bunch of new stuff coming hopefully next week. Um, so, this is the review for season 2 finale of Star Wars Rebels. A little bit of backstory before I talk about the episode a little bit. Because I'm sure a lot of you don't even know that I've been watching Rebels because I haven't posted anything on Twitter about it. I think I might have posted one or two things on Instagram, but I haven't really talked about it that much. So, yeah, I started watching Rebels before the second half of season 2 started. I got all caught up with the first season and the first half of this season. And I just binge watched it. I think I watched it all in like 2 nights. Really easy binge session, especially considered the episodes are only, 20 some minutes long. Um, Suffice to say, I really enjoy the show. And I'll talk more about that when I do my reviews for all of season 2 and all of season 1 because I do want to go back and do that. But this is really just going to be about this episode as much as it can be. Obviously, there's going to be, some carryover from, other episodes and stuff. But so this is what I want to talk about first. Going into this episode, especially after watching this, whole season and just everything that's happened, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, and especially with the way they have been campaigning for this episode, you know, different than a lot of other people. My favorite thing to come out of Star Wars Clone Wars was Ahsoka Tano. I am a huge Ahsoka fan, and the prospect of her dying or her death, which is kind of what a lot of people kind of thought was going to happen, I wasn't all that thrilled with. But if they did it right, I could understand how that would be a great moment in the Star Wars mythos. And so I wasn't against it by any means, but I was hesitant about it because she is one of my favorite characters. And I know in the back of my head that her death needs to happen because she can't be one of those characters that just drops off, because it wouldn't make sense, or it wouldn't be, I don't know, to me it wouldn't be realistic. Because as much as Star Wars is fantasy and as much as, it is what it is, the thing that I love about Star Wars is the way it's constructed. Even with Rebels and Clone Wars, there's a bit of realness to it, and I feel like as much as they did with Ahsoka and Clone Wars and the way they've built her character in Rebels, if they just kind of let her disappear, that would be a major disservice to that character. And I think honestly having her dying in the show is the right move. So I was worried about that going into it. I was also curious on how they were going to bring in Darth Maul. I think everyone kind of knew that they were going to be bringing him in this episode, and that was kind of a curiosity point for me going in. And then just other than that, I just wanted it to be a good episode. I'm in complete agreement with those out there that may think 2 episodes ago was completely boring as hell. And last week's episode was better, but it still was kind of to me. So having 2 weeks of blah, it was really nice to have this finale, and honestly it being as amazing as it was. So now let's talk about the actual episode itself. This, I think, was my favorite episode of Rebels in the whole series, thus to this point. it had everything that I love about the show, about Star Wars, about the mythos, about just how characters interact with one another. I thought this episode showed that the people involved behind it really do know what they're doing with these characters, and they really do have a sense of where they're going with it. I guess another thing to talk about alongside the other stuff that I was talking about a minute ago is I was also one of the people kind of going into it with a big understanding that Ezra was probably going to be turning dark at some point, or going down the path of the dark side. And so that was one thing I wanted to see, whether they would plant that seed or not. But yeah, this episode had everything that I love about Star Wars in it. I love at the beginning, the first mistake made in this episode was Ezra being allowed to stay separated from Kanan and Ahsoka. I think the better move on Kanan's part as his mentor, because look, I haven't read the comic books. I haven't read A New Dawn, so I don't know that much about Kanan other than just what's in the show. But he doesn't seem like the most all-powerful Jedi in the world, not like Anakin, or, maybe even Qui-Gon if you want to go there, or Yoda, somebody like that. But I feel like if he was as good of a mentor as he needs to be, he wouldn't have let Ezra go off, because I don't remember off the top of my head right now how much time has passed since episode 1 of season 1 and this episode of season 2. But suffice that, I still don't think Ezra has been in the Jedi path for very long and has been training for very long. And so letting him go off by himself, just from a not being powerful enough to fight well yet point of view, was a bad move. But then the episode progresses a little bit further, and that's when we get introduced to Darth Maul, and eventually he tells him that, his name, just call him Old Master. And so Ezra doesn't even know really who he is yet. He does pick up on the idea that, he's a Sith, because Ezra's not stupid. He's not the brightest kid in the world, but he's not stupid. So, he picked up on, kind of the shadowy side of this figure, but he still allowed himself to be kind of taken along on this journey. I think one of the coolest moments of this episode was, just from the fact of mirroring both the Jedi way and the Sith way, was them opening the doors and having to take turns, like holding up these huge, massive doors as, they're going through. That was such a cool, look into the, like I said, before, the mythos and the religion of the Sith. So, they get through, and eventually, Maul tells him his name is Maul and, tells him who he is. Now, again, mind is blanking, but I don't remember whether Ezra knows anything about, the old Jedis or anything like that. I don't think he does. So he probably doesn't know who Maul is, because I don't really remember a point where Kanan ever mentions, Maul to him or anything like that. I could be wrong. He could have done it, and I just am forgetting, but I don't remember anything like that happening. So I don't think Ezra knew who he was. But, they eventually go and they get what they're in there for, the Sith holocron. And then a bunch of other stuff starts happening. Kanan and Ahsoka are being attacked by I just forgot their names. Those people. Yeah. I can't think of their names. If I think of it, I'll say it. But right now, my mind is blanking. Again, there's so much I want to talk about. That little word is not there. But they're having to deal with them. The Inquisitors, that's what it is. I knew it started with an I. Inquisitors. They're fighting the Inquisitors. And, Darth Maul and Ezra are doing their thing. And then what you kind of would expect to happen kind of happens with next. Now they do it in a really entertaining way, and I love it. But it, your typical, progression of this story, to the point of Maul betraying, Ahsoka and Kanan, after teaming up with them. Maul tries to gain Ezra as an apprentice. Kanan gets blinded. And I kind of, I saw that coming from the beginning. When you have a character like Maul in there, um, you know, I kind of expected something like that happening. But it still was like that, oh my god, But let me tell you, the moment that I have to talk about is the fight between Ahsoka and Vader at the end of the episode. Because my heart was pounding the entire time this fight was taking place. And it's like, even just like the build up to it, like the minute Vader shows up and he's there, with Ezra, like I wasn't saying it out loud, but I was like, uh oh, Kanan, Ahsoka, Ezra's in trouble, help. And then finally, as Ahsoka shows up, and oh my god, this fight was chilling, and just and again, like I said at the beginning of the episode, because of not knowing whether what was going to happen, whether she was going to die or not. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, I had some tears building up, not even necessarily from sadness, but just from, I didn't know. And so it's like I was kind of like readying myself for her to go, but I didn't want to just think that she would, if she, wasn't going to die. So it was just like, oh my god, what's, oh my god. It was awesome. It was great. This, like I said, this was my favorite episode of the whole show, I think, so far. And then the last few shots were impeccable. I hate it. Let me know if you got to see the finale and you know what I'm talking about. I'll probably go back and rewind and play a little bit closer attention. But for right now, in this review, all we see at the end of the episode is Darth Vader walking out of, this rubble. And we see this really short shot of the opening of, where they were at. And there's a figure there, but I personally could not tell whether they were dead or alive. You see it for like a split second, maybe a little bit longer than a split second, but it was really short. I could not tell whether, I knew it was Ahsoka because I think you see one of her lightsabers. You see the white glow, but I couldn't tell whether she was dead or alive. And so, that led me into thinking, okay, well, is she, what is this, because here's the thing. Like I said, I love Ahsoka. Like I said at the beginning, I don't want her to die. As a fan of the character, I don't want her to die. As a storyteller type, or as a Star Wars fan, though, her death needs to happen. And so it's not a matter of if, but when. And so are they really going to, like, if she's alive, are they really going to hold her out for season 3? Is she going to be in season 3 at least a little bit? That's an interesting choice. I think it would have been better, if she's not dead, I think it would have been better to kill her. And if she is dead, and maybe she's just laying there, and maybe, her lightsaber's ignited or something, I wanted a shot of her face. It's kind of morbid, and I know it's a kid's show, but if she's dead, I would have liked one last, like, pan shot of her lying there, like her corpse lying there, because, we're never going to see the character again if she's dead. And it's like, I don't feel like that did her justice, because that moment when, you see Vader's helmet broken, and she sees that it is him there, and she's like, I'm not leaving you again, or whatever she says. I think that's what she says. I'm not gonna leave you again, and then he says, well, then you will die. That was like a huge moment. If that didn't say, uh-oh, Tano's in trouble, I don't know what it said if it didn't say that. So I just don't like the not knowing. I want to know whether she actually is dead or alive, and so that's going to be killing me in the in-between from here and waiting for season 3 to come out. The other thing that they showed was Ezra opening the holocron, taking his first steps through the dark side, and that was an incredible shot. That absolutely gave me chills, and I gotta say, I probably won't normally rate TV show episodes because, if an episode isn't well, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stop watching the show. I'm one of those people that will always finish the season out. If the season gets over, that's when I decide to stop watching something. But, rating a TV show and how good it is different than when you rate a movie. So I don't really want to get into that. But just to emphasize how I feel, this episode is by far a 10 out of 10 for me. This had everything you could possibly want in a Star Wars episode. That's all I really have to say. I'm going to end the video here, but just as some last things, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't watched Rebels and I've just ruined the end of season 2, how dare you? But hey, go back, watch from season 1. It's incredible. You won't be disappointed at all. I would add, I would even add, go back and watch Star Wars Clone Wars, because something that made Rebels even more enjoyable for me was I watched Attack of the Clones, and then I watched the Clone Wars series and movie chronologically, which you watch two of the episodes, and then you watch the movie, and then the rest of the show, but the whole show is completely out of order. So there's a list. If you look on Google, Star Wars Clone Wars chronological order, you could find a list, print it out and go by that, or save it on your computer and go by that. That's what I did, and it made the show incredibly enjoyable. Yeah, you got to go through Rebels if you haven't. It's really great. And follow me on Twitter, comment down below, let me know what you think. I've also got an Instagram, add me on there. I don't really post on there as much as the other, but yeah. See you in the next video. Bye.